Man, the quarterbacks are neck and neck, and Coach Lea places a premium on ball security.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Man, as fall camp presses on, the defense is finding answers, but what's happening with De'Rickey Wright? Where does he fit in? There's quite the battle going on in the secondary. How's Clark Lea taken to his new role as DC, his new added role, I should say, as DC? He seems to be thriving. But first, the quarterbacks are neck and neck, man. Who's going to separate themselves? No one's done that yet. Does Nate Johnson have a real chance? Well, Coach Lea puts a premium on ball security. He said so today. This thing is neck and neck, man. And these quarterbacks are starting to get into situational work. They're starting to get into scrimmages. The installs are slowing down a little bit. And they're putting these guys into real game-like situations. And honestly, this is, from what I can gather, this battle, every day it's like a new chapter of a massive soap opera. It's like these quarterbacks just keep going at it. They keep swinging. They keep landing haymakers. No one's separating, and this is a good thing, right? And this is a good thing. And so what is happening with these quarterbacks is, as one makes a move, the other answers. And then as the other makes a move, the other answers. And so, in 11-on-11 work today, they're still trying to find chemistry with the receivers. Clark Lea made mention of that in his post-practice presser. He said, he hasn't really seen as much as he probably wants to, because he is got his eyes more focused on the defense. This is where Jerry Kill comes in. This is where Tim Beck comes in. This is where him trusting their expertise comes into play. And neither of them are separating, but they're also making some really good throws. Like, there's Diego Pavia throwing a pass to Joseph McVay down in the red zone period. Overall, I think he had a better day. Decision making, reads, his command of the offense is starting to kind of show. But Nate Johnson is proving that he's not going to back down. And he's getting into some leadership roles here. He's taking charge in the huddle. He's making good throws as well. He's showing that he's still the most physically talented quarterback that they have. He's still showing that, hey, I'm the most talented guy on this roster. I have a legitimate chance at doing this. And so I can make all the throws. I can make all the reads in this offense. I can do everything that you can do. And so it's just one of those things where they're just battling back and forth. And this is really, really a good thing here. And I think that both these quarterbacks are really kind of pressing on a little bit. So, but Clark Lea made mention of ball security, and to be honest, the command of the offense is going to play a big factor in that. And I think it's going to lead to taking care of the football. And one of the problems from last year was that the quarterbacks did not take care of the football. They were throwing ill-advised interceptions, bad reads, sack fumbles, things, some of the things out of their control. But taking care of the football is a major priority coming into this year, because I think that caused the dam to break a lot of times. So what it's going to come down to, and one of the things that's going to separate one of the two early, and I think if one of them gets a little bit of separation, I think they'll win the job pretty quickly. But it's going to come down to their first scrimmage is this Saturday. And who's going to emerge out of that the cleanest? Because they've got to make their reads. I don't know if they're going to be live or not, but they've got to make good decisions. They've got to throw, they've got to go through the progressions. They've got to make the right throws, even if it's an unspectacular check down. If one quarterback proves that he can move the ball down the field effectively and efficiently, that's who's going to be quarterback one. And I think that's who's going to have a major advantage. Someone's going to have a major advantage coming out of Saturday's scrimmage. I don't know if it's going to be Pavia, who's yet to separate himself, or if it's going to be Nate Johnson, who's yet to take that. He's right there on the cusp of making these coaches say, you know what? It's not a slam dunk with Diego. And neither one of them have really taken the bull by the horns here in this scenario. So, but they're both making really good reads. They're both doing everything that they can to progress this offense further. The other factor, of course, is the chemistry with the wide receivers. Like who has the best chemistry with the wide receivers? Who knows who can make anticipatory throws? Who has good rapport with the receiving core? Which of the receivers are going to step up, because none of them are really stepping up that much either. I think there's just a big conglomeration of receivers that are just kind of all real solid, but they could be a lot better. And I think I don't know, like this whole thing is progressing towards, I think it's ultimately going to be a good thing, because it's going to bring the best out of everybody, because, hey, the receivers are competing too for spots and no one's really stood up. They're kind of answering the call. Bryson Coleman has been outstanding as a target, by the way. So, but yeah, Clark Lea has got a tremendous decision on his hands. He's going to trust Jerry Kill and Tim Beck on this quarterback situation. But my prediction is after Saturday, I think you're going to see Diego Pavia finally take a seat in the driver's seat. I think you're going to finally see that. That's my prediction as of Tuesday. Right? As of this Tuesday, when you're watching this, my prediction after Saturday is that Pavia is going to be in the driver's seat. I think this is when he takes over, because this is the situation where it's not controlled. And this is where his expertise, his leadership, his moxie is going to really kind of shine, because the defense is going to be out there hooping and hollering, talking trash, especially Corday Sidnor and Zaylen Wood, who have been outstanding on the defensive line, by the way. But this defense is going to be talking trash. Langus Patterson's going to be flying around these safeties. Brandon Fontenette he's one of the early standouts, by the way. He might play himself into the starting nickel corner and play his way as a strong safety as well, and just be an outstanding addition to this defense, because he's both physical, and because of his physicality and because of his jamming ability and his use of hands, guys can't win one-on-one battles with him. It's the dangest thing. He's not like a speed demon. He's not some super lockdown corner. He just has really good physical technique that's making it number. But that's kind of a side tangent here. But I think two things are true for this quarterback race. Getting back on topic here, I think two things can be true for this race. I think number one, Diego Pavia is going to take the driver's seat on Saturday. I think his like I told you just now, his moxie, his knowledge of the offense, and his ability to deliver the ball wherever it needs to go on time, I think is going to come in handy, because when things are flying around you, I don't know how Nate Johnson's going to respond. He'll probably respond pretty good. Okay. Second thing's true. Nate Johnson has told the coaches, hey, I may not be quite as starting material as Pavia, but I'm not a number 2 quarterback. I'm the 1B option, which means I think there's room in this system. And I think the way the system is designed, I think it's very much possible. And I think there's plenty of room to support 2 quarterbacks. And I don't foresee a rotational pattern that's going to get anybody out of, or it's going to knock anybody out of rhythm. I think if somebody gets hot, they roll with them. But I think there's going to be some situations where Nate Johnson can come in and they have a special package of plays for him. And I think a 2 quarterback system could work. So that I think is also true as well. But these quarterbacks are neck and neck. So we're not going to visit the 2-quarterback system just yet, because Nate Johnson still has a chance of winning this thing outright. And if Nate Johnson wins this thing outright, now we're talking a package of plays and a 2-quarterback system for Diego Pavia, which we'll revisit as we get, that's not the main point, but it's going to come down to who can make the reads, who can take care of the football, and it's all about instincts of, hey, when I'm running the ball, I'm securing it high and tight. When I'm in the pocket, I've got a good firm feel of what the rush is happening around me. I have the instincts enough to be able to tuck the ball if I'm getting sacked, and then of course, making good reads and not throwing the ball in dangerous places and not trying. This is the most dangerous part. This is the thing that happens with quarterbacks can either make or break their chances of winning the job. And it's trying to fit a ball into a window that it doesn't need to fit into. That's one reason. And two things can happen with that. One, you thread the needle, you get confidence, and you do it again, and it's a pick. Two, it's a complete disaster, and you probably just derailed your chances of winning the starting role because you can't take care of the football. So it's going to come down to that. Be smart, take care of the football. So Clark Lea has got a lot of decisions ahead of him. He's got a lot on his plate. One of those things he took on was he added the defensive coordinator role to his plate. How's he handling that? I think he's thriving. He seems to be thriving. Listening to him in press conferences, he seems to be thriving. So we'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with the Booster Bonus Daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All righty. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen of the day. For your second listen, and everydayers, shout out to you, by the way. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On College Football podcast. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with discussion on the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, new college football expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So, that's speaking of which. Thank you to the everydayers, and that show is awesome. And you should definitely make that your second listen. Make Locked On SEC your third listen every day. That'd be amazing too. So, Clark Lea, man, he seems to be thriving in his new role. As in his added role, I won't say new role, but his added role of defensive coordinator. And I think it's something that needed to happen. I think it's something that is definitely a good thing. And to me, with him being the CEO, I just think he was out of place. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to act. You could tell he was detached. You could tell he just was like, oh boy, this is getting out of hand and I don't know what to do. Like, the scene, it's the typical scene where like you get a teacher, it's in a movie, and you get a teacher that's completely overwhelmed and things are just flying and happening around them and they don't know what to do. And they just have this bewildered look on their face, whoever it is in that role. That's what Clark Lea kind of looked like at times last year. And it's just CEO, it's just not him. He's a great teacher. He's good with relationships. He's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. And this program was missing that. And they were missing that part of him. They were missing that expertise. And I think he just kind of got overwhelmed with the administrative part of it. And now he's been able to delegate some of that. He's been able to get back into doing what he likes to do, is coaching. He's the hires that he's made, the overhaul that he's done has allowed him to do such things, right? And he says in his fourth year, he's learned a few things. But he said, feeling like I have direct responsibilities over the play and the performance on the field, building trust with the players through teaching them and helping them play the game at a higher level. All of those things are energizing to me, right? That's one of the things he said at media days about adding the defensive coordinator role, right? He feels more energized, and you can tell. And I think the team will reflect that, right? I think there's more energy at practice. There's more trash talk. There's more things happening, right? Again, I don't think he was just sitting around, but he said, there's no minute in the day where I'm not doing something. That's just the nature of the beast now. He said, there's no rest for the weary. I'm just grinding the entire day, but that's what I love to do. And, it's like he's sitting in positional meetings. He's actually coaching now, which I know that sounds weird, but it's true. I don't think it just seemed like he was miles away all the time last year. And I think he knew that. And he's like, man, I got to change. And he did. Right. And things like that. He's learning how to delegate. He's learning how to trust guys around him. Like you're seeing with this quarterback battle, he came out and said, hey, I trust the opinion of Jerry Kill and Tim Beck. I don't get to see the quarterbacks as much as I want to. And it's, I trust their eyes. I trust what they're telling me. So it's just that building trust, and the trust circulates throughout the whole program. Right. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And he's handing over responsibilities to Steve Gregory, which he's associate defensive coordinator off the field. He's kind of like the Jerry Kill of the defense, where he's like the offensive coordinator. He's also kind of like the head coach and things like that. But he's delegating at times to Steve Gregory when he needs to be the head coach. He's saying, all right, Steve Gregory, your defensive coordinator for now, do X, Y, Z. And then when it's time for him to take back over DC, he takes it back over and he's like, hey, Jerry, you're the head coach right now. We're going to be split head coach, things like that. And obviously he's got final word. So CJ Taylor's thriving into this. I think there's some things that are going to happen with CJ Taylor, who I really like. What I'm really excited about what the possibilities are for him in this defense. He says, I trust him with my football career. Whenever he told the team that he was taking over as DC, that's all I needed to hear. Obviously, I'm changing to a traditional safety position. So when those two things checked off, I was all hands on deck. And so that was something that also was good. Veteran safety Marlon Sewell, who's fighting for position right now. He's trying to make a name for himself in a crowded defensive backfield. He says, I feel like the defense is more tightened up. I feel it's cleaner, more precise. I feel like it's getting down to detail. And that's what I like. He's a calm coach, but he's aggressive when he needs to be. Think about that quote. I want to break down that quote. Okay? I feel like it's cleaner and more precise. I love that. I love that because when it's cleaner, guys are free to play fast. When it's more precise, you know the target. You know what's happening. These guys are smarter. They don't have to think. It's getting down to detail. It's making sure that we have all our bases covered. And he's aggressive when he needs to be. That's music to my ears because aggressive is what this team needs to be. They need to be outside the box here. And they need to be getting after some folks. And I think that's going to be. And so this a cleaner, more precise defense that's thinking less. The energy is obviously up. The intensity is up. The excitement is up. There's I did a show about this. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was probably I think it was during spring practice sessions, but I was like, there's more like energy, more swagger. And I know when I said swagger that people were like, well, what's Vandy got to have swagger about? They're 2-10. And you can have swagger. There's a new energy. Things are obviously improved. Now, How it shakes out on the field, that remains to be seen. But I do think that, knock on wood, it seems like more guys are available practice-wise. I think they're doing a great job there. I think they're bigger, stronger, faster. And I still think they're building and developing depth. Like, in order to do that, you have to, again, the more precise you can be, the cleaner you can be, the more details you can get into, and really kind of drill down on some things and be able to develop those guys behind you. And if you can develop those guys behind you, you don't need to go get superstars. If you get good role players that play into their role, it's going to be great. But yeah, Langston Patterson said he's really detailed it down and tightened up our structure into something that's awesome to play for. He puts emphasis on effort, and he always says it's 50% what you do, 50% how you do it. I say it's 51% how you do it, 49% of what you do. Clark Lea said, I have loved the transition. It's reinvigorated me. I'm on fire to improve this program. I'm on fire to improve the on-field performance and the way we play football. So you can't, he says, I'm a teacher first, competitor second. So yeah, you can't hide that excitement. But Clark Lea is reinvigorated, and that's going to be great for this team because he's a smart, intelligent defensive mind. So that's going to be really, really good for this program. That's going to be really good on what he wants to do. So in doing that, in teaching, in thriving, in developing, you have guys that kind of have, I don't want to say weird fits, that might not be the right word, but like unique fits, like a De'Rickey Wright, like a Randon Fontenette, like a CJ Taylor. What do you do with these guys? Where does, like, De'Rickey Wright decided to come back? Where does he fit into this mix? Because he's kind of a unique type of player where there's a lot of things he can do. We'll talk about that next. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here very, very soon. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the everydayers for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make your second listen to the Locked On College Football podcast. That's a great show with Spencer McLaughlin. You should check it out. Also, make sure you check out the other shows on the Locked On Network too. If you have time, if you're on a long trip or sitting out by the pool or just need some good football content after this show, check out those shows at Locked On SEC as well, Locked On Ole Miss, Locked On Auburn, to name a few. So, Coach Lea, man, he's again. I think he's onto something here because he's really embracing this teaching role full-heartedly, right? I think making the move that he made to take back over the defensive coordinator role is the best thing that probably could have happened to this program under him, because he's gonna display his full talent, because I think someone along the lines had him believing that being the head coach was this oversight CEO type role. I don't know if it's somebody he worked with along the way, whether it was Brian Kelly or whoever. I don't know where the inspiration came from for him to think that he probably needed to be that type of coach. You can obviously tell it's not his style, and that's not really what he prefers. He really feels this really feels natural for him right now. What he's doing at this moment, like this is what feels the most natural to him. You can tell. You can tell by the way he talks. You can tell by the way he operates. You can tell what he's doing, what he's saying, how he's interacting. Like, you can tell. This right here, this model of coaching for him is his wheelhouse. And that's a great thing for Vandy because that's what they need. That's what they've needed all along. I don't know that Vandy goes 2-10 if he's doing this model. I don't know that because they had some talent. They had some serious talent on the roster. Lost most of it to the transfer portal, rightfully so, given the situation. But I'd be remiss to say that like they could have gone to a bowl game last year with the talent that they had, and they could have been more competitive in the big games had they had this model, right? Had he known, obviously he would have done it. But he had the epiphany, and that's great. But De'Rickey Wright, man, this is an interesting move because, again, the story of him. Here's the very short version. He decided right after the season he entered the transfer portal, committed to Texas A&M. I was doing something along the lines. He kept in touch with Clark Lea, but he never decided to embark on that journey. He decided to stay with Vanderbilt and to come back to the program, and that's what he did. And I think this is a move that's going to benefit him because, to me, I think Clark Lea was able to sell him on the ideas that he had of how he's going to utilize his talents within this defense, and I trust that because of what I've seen out of Clark Lea building defenses. I know that he has an idea. I trust his vision. Because as a defensive coordinator, he's been phenomenal. As a head coach, he has not pressed all the right buttons. Let's be honest about that. All right. It's not, it's all a learning experience, right? He has not pressed the right buttons for whatever reason. He is pressing some right buttons now. That's all that's important, right? He's learned from it. He still has a chance to press the right buttons, and I think he is pressing the right buttons, and we'll see the direct result of the buttons he's pressing starting on August 31st, right here in Nashville. So De'Rickey Wright is a very interesting cat. Right now he's looking to play deep safety. Clark Lea says he can play a high safety, obviously, on third down. He can do a lot of things for us, so I think it's still kind of sorting out, he said, of Wright's role. We've got to work on our depth chart on the back end. And I think a lot of that is the fact that De'Rickey Wright is a sizable defensive player. He's 6'3", 220, 6'2", 220. Like he's a big, heavy thumper guy, right? And so they've got to figure out personnel wise because they have a bunch of different guys around there. They have God, I'm drawing a blank here. They have a lot of guys, and I can't name a single one of them all of a sudden. They have Maurice Hampton. They have C.J. Taylor, Dante Carter, Brandon Fontenette, Marlon Sewell are all vying for looks in the backfield there, and they all have different unique talents too. So Clark Lea's got to figure out, and again, I think this is where he gets creative, and I think this is where situationally he's going to determine, okay, well, here's my best combos in these given personnel packages and situations. He's really going to design some stuff to take advantage of what De'Rickey Wright does the best, and to get him surrounded by guys that make up for his deficiencies, like Dante Carter being an excellent coverage guy as a high safety. Maybe they get into some situations where they play cover one, where Dante Carter's the high safety, and C.J. Taylor and De'Rickey Wright are in the game, and they're playing low. And then maybe there's an avenue for Brandon Fontenette too, if they want to go into some nickel packages or whatever they want to do. They have that flexibility because C.J. Taylor's played linebacker. Brandon Fontenette's physical. He could play kind of like an edge guy. De'Rickey Wright could also be in that role. So you've got a lot of possibilities of what you can do with a guy like De'Rickey Wright because he has very interesting skill set. He has a very interesting build, and he's just one of those guys that he plays like a small DB. He can leap, get the ball in the air, and he plays like a linebacker as well because when he comes down and hits you, he's going to hit you. you're gonna know that he's there. And so this is something that's going to be interesting. They're sorting it out, which means they're getting funky. They're going to get creative here, and I'm here for it, man. I love every bit of that. So just keep that in your back pocket there. Just keep that in mind as you read these practice reports. De'Rickey Wright, there's something cooking for him. There's a niche role that he has that I think he could take advantage of. That could also lead him to play at the next level, maybe. That's down the road, but we'll see kind of where he fits. So I'm excited about this defensive backfield. I think there's a lot of good, different, unique talents and skill sets back there. So, but that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast. Thank you for making this your first listen every day. Make sure you follow at Locked On Vandy, and make sure you follow me at Coach Burn 36 as well. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your day. See you back here tomorrow. As always, anchor down.